Hello, and thank you so much for coming back. This is Joanna from Joanna the Medium, or I am Joanna the Medium. Thank you so much for your patience. The videos for September are coming a little bit late. I was just absolutely swamped in September. Thanks to you for the most part. The soul coaching sessions have proven to be a tremendous hit. There were 75% of all my work in September, and clients, you have found them to be extraordinarily helpful. So thank you for that. Thank you very much. This is obviously, these are general readings. It will not apply to all of you. That would be absolutely impossible. If one reading doesn't apply to you, look at your other signs as it may form a greater picture. I am also becoming very, very aware that the energies that I am working with are energies that are meant to give messages in a broader context. And what I mean by this is information is coming forward to help you look at life and at situation or situations from a different perspective. And the reason why that's being given to you at this time is because those of you who are ready for the next step of your soul's growth will instantly resonate with what's being said. Those are also messages that are not specific necessarily with regards to what's going on with your life and how you need to fix it. And for that reason, some of you will get very frustrated with me, and that's fine. If that's the case, you may not be ready for the information that I will be presenting moving forward. Sometimes it's just a matter of timing. Sometimes you're not ready to hear something, but you may be ready for a month from now or 2 months from now. And I absolutely respect that. I've been there myself. But it is very much as me saying, these messages are meant to help you how to fish rather than to give you fish every single time, because helping you learn how to fish is going to empower you to take better care of yourself in a more empowered way, versus if I was to be feeding you all the time and giving you information. That's actually very disempowering. And my greatest passion is to help people become empowered and find their own light in order to grow and live happy lives that start from feeling good within. So that is my greatest hope for all of you. And some of you are just looking for things to be fixed. And, if that's the case, you probably will not resonate with a lot of the messages that I say here. And that's totally okay. I am completely open to that, and I have respect for that. Okay. Is there anything else that I want to say? No, of course, if you would like a private message, you can also email me at joannahthemedium or info@joannahthemedium.com, but I have included links for you down below, so it's much easier so you don't have to look. I also want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, as always, for watching, sharing, subscribing, for if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be doing this. September is going to be an interesting month, to say the least. It is a month of changes and transformations for many of you, myself included. These aren't changes that are bad, or at least should not be looked at it that way, but there's definitely an energy of change that is very apparent in most of the readings that I've done for September. I think that's it. I don't want to spend too much of your time blabbing. So let's get on to the readings. And again, thank you so much for watching, sharing, and subscribing. And I look forward to hearing from you as far as your comments, because I love hearing those and reading those. And some of you have said I should stop going and I actually just noticed that I do that a lot. So I'm going to try and pay attention to that as much as I can. But it is something that's ingrained, so it's going to take me a bit of time to eradicate, but I obviously thank you for that comment. Without further ado, let's get started with the readings. See you soon. Hello and welcome back. This is going to be a session or a reading for the sign of Sagittarius, sun sign, moon sign, and rising sign. And just like last month, I will start off with message from Spirit, channeled message, and I have 3 cards laid down, face down, afterwards to see what we get for cards. So give me one moment. I will tune in. Right away, I hear and see the word repetition. When I ask what this means, I hear repetition of one's mistakes. Mistakes, of course, are mistakes. The word mistakes is being shown to me in quotation marks, for Spirit doesn't necessarily look at things as mistakes, but rather opportunities to learn. And there is an obvious feeling to me that whoever this is for, and this is pertaining to relationship, I'm being asked to say, at least for this part, where major, the word major as in big, significant, steps have been taken repeatedly in a way that is consuming one's being in a unproductive and negative way. And I'm going to ask him to unpack this for me. I hear the words, it's over and over, they're not listening, they're not listening, they're not listening. And I feel like I am trying to break a wall with my head. That is a metaphor. And I can't obviously make a dent, because to break a wall with the head is not a very productive or worthwhile thing to do. And he says to me, stubborn. Whoever this is for, this is regarding a relationship you are either currently in, finding yourself in, or in relationships in general, when you are stubbornly trying to do the same thing over and over and over, and you keep repeating the same, he says, outdated pattern. I see the number 5 with this, so perhaps this is your 5th relationship, or something with the number 5 is significant with this. There's also a month of May that's being mentioned. Perhaps you are with someone who is born in the month of May, or May is somehow significant to you, pertaining to a mother figure or a mother. This mother could be past, she could be alive. Excuse me, I'm just gonna, and but somehow, if you what's the word, resonate with the number 5 in particular, or May, you will most likely resonate with this particular message, or this particular message is meant for you. Now, going back to trying to break this wall with my head, he is asking me to look at this. So what I'm seeing is somebody trying to break the wall with their head. Not a good idea. And what I'm being asked is to go higher and observe the situation. And what I'm seeing is that this person is trying to break this wall with this head, and they're not realizing that right next to them is a bloody opening that they can walk through, but they're not seeing it. And again, I hear the word stubborn. So for some of you, this is going to be about hopefully breaking a relationship pattern that has had you stuck for years. And I hear the words, this is how his or her father treated the mother. So that in itself is a huge eye-opener if you can allow yourself to see it. And this is a significant piece of this message. You are being asked to look at your patterns. You are being asked to look how your parents lived, which in turn gave you a foundation and an understanding of how relationships should be. And you are being asked to assess and reassess if the patterns have in fact been helping you being happy, deterring you from being happy, and therefore having problems. So 9 is the number that I'm being shown, and he says to me, ending. For some of you, you are facing an ending of a relationship. This ending is not just an ending of a particular relationship, but it's also an ending, hopefully, of a certain way of you approaching relationships as you've known it for years, or the way you've known it for years. He's saying to me, the way you have lived this particular aspect of your life has been foundation for you since the time you were young. And I'm particularly being shown the age of 6 and /7. For some of you, you will have a memory of what that was. And I hear the words chaos. You may have grown up in a very chaotic environment, which in turn gave you an understanding as a child that this is what relationship is supposed to be like. And therefore, you have subconsciously repeated this pattern over and over and over and over. And he says to me, it's time to end this insanity, because hitting your head against the wall eventually is going to get pretty tiring and very painful. And he says to me, it's been a painful process. I'm also being shown that whoever this is for, and keep in mind that you can, he's just asking me to say this. Just because I'm connecting this with a relationship, or he's asking me to connect this with relationships, and for the most part, romantic relationships, what he's talking about can be taken to pretty much any area of your life, and look at the foundations of where you come from and the understandings of the understandings of life as you know it in your subconscious, and see if there is any connection in your past that you can connect your behavior to as a repeated pattern. Okay, I'm hoping this is going to make sense to you. I don't want to make this too convoluted. But this is exactly one of those things that I was mentioning at the very beginning of my intro. These are messages that are meant to make you go, okay, wait a second, what is happening here? Don't look here, look over here. And this is one of those things. So, he says to me, September is a tough month for you, particularly for those of you who are going through a breakup. Now, breakup is always a difficult time. That's goes with the territory. But there's something about this particular breakup that seems to be the most difficult, and more difficult than perhaps any of the other ones you've had. And he's saying to me the reason why is because this relationship was very significant. And I connect this to being karmic, meaning there is some major lessons or major understandings that can be taken from this situation as learning opportunities, which in turn will give you wisdom if you choose to look at it from a greater, deeper, much more, expansive way of looking at things. And he says the words enlightening. For some of you, this is going to be about work. And I'm seeing a vision of someone who's working tirelessly for little money. And the body position is such that the person feels small in how they feel about themselves. And right away, I'm being taken to a place in one's childhood where the father figure, which represented an authority figure, was very hard and critical of you. So for those of you, this is going to be a message about career, and I'm going to ask what this is. He says to me, pay attention to how you feel when you are surrounded or when you are faced with your boss, and how you felt when you were young with respect to either a family member, authority figure, or a parent figure, somebody significant. And he says, and then you will connect the dots. And he says, break the pattern, break the pattern. So this is about looking at one's life in a different perspective, from a different angle, and hopefully going, aha. And now that you have it in your consciousness, you can work towards changing the pattern. I always say you cannot change something you do not know exists. So this might be an eye-opener for many of you, hopefully most of you. And like I said, this can be taken to any area of your life that you are struggling with. Okay. I also hear the words pen to paper, pen to paper. I don't know what that means, other than I'm seeing somebody furiously writing something. Lists. Okay, this is for someone who considers themselves to be OCD, not necessarily diagnosed OCD, whatever that means. It is basically control. They need to be very much in control. And he's connecting this to your mother. So, and something about cleaning. So if you are obsessed with making lists and obsessed with cleanliness, something about connection to your mother, okay? And you're being asked to take a step back and take a look at your lifestyle. Not that it's necessarily a bad thing, but it is not, it's not a peaceful way to be. Let's put it that way. And then he's asking me to leave this. So let's start off with cards, or let's continue with the cards. The first card represents your past or your background. Trapped in fear. Okay. So this is corresponding to a lot of what the message was at the very beginning. This individual, well, as you see, is depicted as possibly sitting in jail, as it is, signified by the, whatever those things are called. I can't even find the words. You know what I mean? He's behind doors that look like he could be in jail. He is clearly devastated. He is clearly secluded. He is clearly not feeling good about himself. And I hear the words despair. 8 is a foundation number. This tells me that at the very basis of who you are, this has been the foundation that was given to you at some point in your life. Meaning, if you come from a place of chaos in your earlier life, in the development as a child develops, in the developmental years, you will have developed a fearful attitude towards life, because life as you knew it around you was very chaotic. And that in turn serves as the very foundation of what makes you run the rest of your life. In other words, imagine yourself being a computer and this is a software that's running the computer. Not a pretty good software to have, right? It's probably not going to produce good results. So this is in your past. This is where you come from, and this is shedding the light on why you are the way you are, why you are experiencing the things you are experiencing, particularly in a situation where I was talking about work and somebody feeling very small. This is asking you to look at the very depth of where you come from, okay? This is a pattern that's been with you, but it's a pattern that can be broken. So that's just shedding light on where you come from. The next card represents your situation or your present. And we have the card called Patience and Planning. This is card, the red border signifies, oh, by the way, let me just go back to this. So the blue border is all about the mind. This is how your mind functions. This is where the fearful thoughts, this is your thinking. This is how you were programmed. At the basis of who you are, that is the programmed, that's what you were programmed to think, okay? Or that's what your mind is primed to do for the most part. Fearful thoughts. This is with respect to the earth element. So it is to do with money. It is to do with health. It's to do with relationships. It says patience and planning. This is a time for you to contemplate, not to make drastic decisions. You see these two columns. They, to me, signify stability. However, the light that is shining upon these columns is what gives them illumination. Therefore, this is being talked about very same as the message that preceded the cards, is that you are to look at your foundation and see what your foundation has been, shed some light to understand your foundation, but this is not a time for you to act. This is a time for you to contemplate and look at where you come from, to help you gain a greater understanding of who you are, and therefore illuminate everything that has been until this point, and possibly what will be for your future. This is a very pivotal moment for you with respect to significant change on a foundational level. This is not necessarily a card that I would associate with this message, but keep in mind, I don't read cards. They're just promptings to me visually so that I can get more information from the energy that I'm connecting with at any particular moment. I hear the words, everything is fine, don't worry. You are okay, it will be okay. But there is definitely this person within you. Call it the inner child. There is definitely a part of you that feels like this. This is something that you want to, number one, recognize, number two, acknowledge, and bring yourself to a place where you can grieve a lot of what has happened or didn't happen in your life. He says to me, this is a time of endings of being in a certain way, endings of being in a rut, endings of living in a rut. This time can act as a profound foundation for you to go forward. And what I mean by this is the understanding that you can get or gain from looking at your patterns or where you come from, and looking at the significant pieces in your life and key people in your life. That understanding can profoundly change you and empower you in a very positive way going forward, if you choose to do the work and if you choose to stop doing this. Remember, I saw the door right next to the place where you were banging your head against the wall. There is another way out, but you have to be able to willing and look. You have to be willing to look. Look beyond the obvious, he says to me, for this is where you will find your greatest source of strength. I also sense someone who has the need to control. Now, if you are OCD, that is all about control, and that is all about not feeling in control at some point in your life. So it does make sense to me on a logical level that you would have the need to control. However, the need to control comes from a place that is this. Because if one feels powerful inside, if one feels good about who they are, they have no need to control. That doesn't exist because they don't need to. They don't need to beat people over the head with their power. There's no need. So I'm just going to close my mail because I forgot to do that. And the next card, the next card represents the outcome or the advice. Look. This is the last card in the arcana, in the major arcana. Universe, or the world. This is what is happening within you, or what will be happening within you. So when I look at this card, the words that always come to me, top of the world, being on top of the world. So there's a couple of things. With respect to advice, you are being asked to think of yourself like you are on the top of, like you are on top of the world, like everything is available to you. When one feels on top of the world, there's a certain level of understanding and, most importantly, a feeling. There's a certain emotion that is evoked when one feels elated. You're being asked to dig deep and find that emotion. It is also a card that signifies the probable future. Nothing is written in stone because we have this thing called free will, thank God. If you choose to do your work, if you choose to look at your patterns, if you choose to stop banging your head against the wall, if you choose to do the hard work, you will be and you will feel on top of the world, and you will get the very things you're looking for, but they're going to come to you in a way that is going to feel much more peaceful, as opposed to you trying to work so hard at getting it. The hard work is going to happen within. It's not going to be sheer force, you trying to make something happen outside of you. So this is a very critical time for you, where you are able to make tremendous changes and strides in how you view yourself and therefore the world outside of you. And remember, the world is a reflection of who we are. If we predominantly function on the basis of fear, the universe will, more often than not, give us situation, people, and things, I guess, that will prove that fearful emotion to you, or that fearful belief, should I say. So you really have to work at this. Now, admitting one's weaknesses is not a weakness. It is not your fault that you are the way you are. It is something that was modeled to you at some point in your life. Back then, you may not have a choice. You may not have had a choice because you were too young. You do have a choice now. So how you choose to deal with this going forward is very much in your hands. But it is important for you to realize that you and you alone are the one who can make a major change, a major difference in the way you are and the way you think and feel. If you choose to look at this that way, you will find yourself feeling much more empowered than you have ever felt in your entire lifetime. And he says to you, that is a promise, but it will take work. He says to me, for those of you who are very stubborn, it's because underneath the stubbornness is actually a feeling of defeat. This is what I see when I look at this person. It's utter defeat. He says, you are not defeated. There's much more to you than you give yourself credit for. So it's time you start to look at yourself from a different angle and in a different light. And I'm going to leave it at that. Okay? I hope this makes sense. I wish you a wonderful September. Like I mentioned, September is going to be very transformative for many people. And a lot of changes, not bad changes, these are good changes, but they may not necessarily feel very comfortable. When we look at certain things in our lives and the way we have been, and when we look at these things and we go, oh my gosh, wow. And when we allow ourselves to accept our responsibility for it, that's when we truly allow ourselves the freedom to go forward. So be brave enough to empower yourself in order to change the very foundation of who you are. Don't let that run you. You run it. In other words, you be the one in control of what happens to you. Don't let that be in control of what happens to you. Okay? And that meaning the previous way of thinking, previous way of believing, your faulty belief system, or your faulty, I'm going to leave it at that, okay? If you choose to do this work, there's amazing, amazing, amazing opportunities awaiting for you. But you can't see that yet because your frame of mind is still very different. Please let me know how this connects with you or how this resonates with you. If it doesn't, you may want to look at the other signs or look at them anyway to see if it forms a greater picture, a more complete picture. If none of these make sense to you, perhaps this is not a reading for you this month, and that's totally okay. It happens. I can't possibly deliver a message to everybody. That would be, I don't think that's possible. Until the month of October, I wish you best of luck. Thank you so much for sharing, watching, and subscribing. If you would like a private reading, of course, you can reach me at info@joannahthemedium.com, or there's links included down below. And again, I wish you best month of September, and good luck to you, and see you soon. Bye.